President-elect Donald Trump sounding off today on Gitmo, tweeting, "There should be no further releases from Gitmo. These are extremely dangerous people and should not be allowed back onto the battlefield." Joining me now to discuss, Adriana Cohn and Fred Fleitz. Adriana, I think if President Obama gets his way, we'll be down to a handful of these folks, despite the record of recidivism. And we're not just talking about recidivism robbing a liquor store. I mean, going back and forming new terror groups and killing civilians and Americans around the world.
Yes, this is just one of the worst things I think President Obama has done during his presidency is to release dangerous terrorists who are going back onto the battlefield. And the Defense Department already told lawmakers earlier this year that at least 12 Americans were killed by detainees that were released. And so it makes absolutely no sense that at a time when ISIS is trying to destroy us, we're at war with ISIS, should the president be putting more soldiers back on the battlefield to harm either Americans, Western civilians, or our military? It just doesn't make any sense.
Fred, listen, we know who President Obama is, and we know his ideology, despite the obvious proof. But what are your concerns as more and more of these folks are let out into the world?
Well, these detainees are the very worst of the worst. And the Obama administration couldn't find any nation to take them, any reliable nation with a strong prison sentence. So it's bribing any nation it can find. Let me tell you who some of them are: Ghana, Senegal, Montenegro, Bosnia, and the tiny African nation of Cape Verde. That's where these detainees are going. Now, we know there's a recidivism rate of about 30%, but these are the type of nations that Obama's going to send these detainees. I think a much larger percentage is going to be returning to the battlefield as terrorists.
Are we paying those countries also to take these terrorists or these detainees? Fred?
I think there's no question there is some type of economic or diplomatic incentive to get nations like Senegal and Ghana and Cape Verde to take al-Qaeda terrorists. They're not doing it for free.
Adriana, President Obama began his term in office with an apology tour to the world. This, to me, seems like another apology for America and American actions rather than the notion of keeping Americans and Westerners alive.
You're absolutely right, Charles. And I just think it's immoral to ask our troops to fight the same enemy twice. They already lost life and limb capturing the terrorists to begin with. Now, when that terrorist goes back on the battlefield, they're going to have to fight that dangerous prisoner yet again. It just makes no sense. And I hope that Donald Trump can put a stop to this and keep Gitmo open, because there's going to be more terrorists that our troops capture. Where are we going to put them? Right. We don't want them on American soil. We don't want them in our prison system radicalizing other United States prisoners.
No, I think we should make the place bigger, to be quite frank with you. Fred, I want to shift gears a moment, because Kim Jong-un, he's not only someone who's is a saber rattler, but he follows through on his threats, and apparently he is going to make a display of what they can do with their nuclear ballistics program that have a lot of people worried. What should happen? Should we try to eventually just stop him, shoot one of these things down as he's launching them, send him a message? What do we do? Because he is going to be a real serious danger real soon.
Well, first of all, we know North Korean leaders like to make these threats and engage in belligerent actions to lure us to the negotiating table so they can extract more concessions. But the best way to deal with nations like North Korea is to negotiate from strength. And frankly, we have not seen that in the last 3 presidents. And I think Donald Trump has put down a marker that he is not going to make concessions to this nation.
What do we do, though? They fire off this intercontinental type ballistic missile that perhaps could even reach Hawaii, theoretically. Do we even let them have these tests? When do we start shooting them down as they leave the launching pad?
We shoot them down in the air, we shoot them down on the launching pad, and we make it clear to China that we are expecting China to start playing the role that it should be playing to rein North Korea in.
Adriana, real quick.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, China provides North Korea with its oil, with food, and with other valuable commodities. And so I think China should be pressured to use that as leverage to get North Korea back in line.
And millions of people have still died in North Korea. Thank you both very, very much. By the way, also,